Welcome to the March Lead SLP Monthly Call. I'm happy to see everyone here. Can you believe it's March? It just seems like the spring has gone by so quickly. I don't know. I don't know where it's all gone, where the time's gone. But anyway, it's March, and we are going to be moving, fast through the rest of the spring. So anyway, we've got a lot of information to cover today, and go ahead and get started. But just remember, it's Friday and it's sunny, and that's a wonderful thing for what everybody's been through lately, that's for sure. Today's topics, we're going to talk about the online grad program for SLPs through WVU. We're going to talk about WVU and Marshall grads for the spring. We're going to talk about the SOL grants that are available through the Department of Ed for summer programs, recovery programs this summer. We're going to talk about county packages for SLPs for recruitment purposes, the WVSHA Conference, ethics session, professional development committee meeting, celebrating connections, and other PD we're going to be doing for comprehensive evaluations for deaf, hard of hearing students. And then we're going to watch a video about speech sound disorders and the most recent research and how to apply it to children who are working in the schools, and then how we can help you guys. So Libby will be joining us in just a few minutes, and we're going to be posting a link, before I forget, a link in the chat box at the end. So we're going to start providing you guys with certificates for these meetings. We can't really do ASHA CEUs because we have to know all the topics ahead of time, and we can't really just use generic speech and language topics. So we can provide you with certificates that you could use for CMH hours if you need to, or for professional development, whatever you need. So anyway, just be sure and look for that at the end. We just finished the process of narrowing down the graduate candidate pool for the West Virginia WVU online grad program for SLPs. We're so excited to get this program up and started. It has been a couple years in the making, and we just met with the SLPAs to tell them what all's involved in the selection process, because to be honest, WVU really put on the speed for this one. They had originally planned to have this program up and going in 4 years. And I pressed them to do it sooner than that. So they're doing it at the end. We're up and going at the end of 2 years. So they really have made the process move quickly through the accreditation process and everything, because we were not going to offer a program that wasn't accredited. So as we've done that, some glitches have happened, and unfortunately there have been some glitches that have affected some of your SLPs who applied. And one of the glitches was the application process and all the things that they consider. So we went through with them all the things that they consider. And I specifically had them design this program so that we could keep getting more candidates in the program. They weren't going to offer it unless they could show longevity. And if we set it up to only take people who are working currently in West Virginia schools, our candidate pool is going to be very small. And only those people who have employed SLPAs would have candidates to bring into the program. So what they did was make it so that anybody can apply for it, but to be able to be a part of it, they have to be employed by a West Virginia school. So that keeps our candidate pool going because we have so many more vacancies than we do SLPAs currently working. And that also provides some support for counties who don't have current SLPAs. So through that process, it means that, there's not going to be preference or only working SLPAs involved. So I think there was some misunderstanding, no matter how many times we tried to explain it. And I think there were a lot of there's a lot of frustration and some hurt feelings for sure for people who applied this year, but we have Dr. Brandel has offered to work with them individually after we just did our general training with them about the application process and what they need to look for. And she will walk through their application packet with them and tell them why they received a denial letter. But they have selected 13 students out of a pool of 60. And we won't know the final list until April 15th, and that's the final day that they can declare to be part of a program. Because, a lot of grad students or, students applying for any grad program apply to several. And so they might receive an offer from another school system or another university and take it. So that list is going to be kind of flexible and changeable until the end of the that time period, April 15th. We have a wait list so that, as they go through the process and people decline their letters of invitation, they'll go to the next person on the list, and they're matching them up to counties who requested them after they interviewed them, or what the students requested. They take the list of the students requested and then the students that counties requested and match them up. So as it looks right now, we'll have several people who are currently working who will receive the invitation letter. And there'll be counties who did not have any SLPAs who will be receiving one. So we're very excited. They will have a stipend of $6,000 for the total 2.5-year program. They're going to have opportunities for hands-on, on-campus experience, all those kinds of things. And the only responsibility the counties will have with this program is to follow the SLPA guidance document and provide that county supervision just like you've always done, or just like you always do with SLPAs. WVU will provide its own supervisors. In the past, I think Libby and James Leibkovich helped with that piece, with some of it, and worked with the supervisors and met with the students and all that kind of thing. WVU is going to have their own people who take care of our program. We're providing the salaries for those two positions, and so they will, the Department of Ed is providing those salaries. So we'll have dedicated individuals to our program, so we can make sure that everything is done well. So anyway, oh, please be sure. I know I've been approving some SLPA initial authorizations lately. And as you get an SLPA hired in your county, be sure to send in that SLPA supervision plan, because that's still required 15 days after employment. And make sure to contact Libby so she can, get them added to the SLPA group and go through the documentation process with them. Okay, we are going to have 10 people graduating in the spring. We provided stipends to as they went through the full-time on-campus graduate programs. 5 from WVU, 5 from Marshall. There are varying amounts of school commitments based on the number of years they accepted the stipends that we provided. We're hoping to be able to provide a bigger stipend to the WVU online program for the next cohort, but that's going to be dependent on several different issues. So we're working on that for sure. And one of those is to apply for a federal training grant that we hope to do a lot of things with. So those students will select where they want to work. Their only commitment is to work in a K-12 West Virginia public school. So it's going to be, there's going to be some competition here for counties to find these and to hire these candidates. We tried to select the candidates. I helped select the candidates for these two. We tried to select them based on geographic location, a lot of them, because we were trying to, get them varying places throughout the state. And let me say, I helped with the Marshall one. WVU selected their own. So geographic location might have been a consideration, but just know that they do have the requirement to work in a West Virginia school. So, there's no county that's off limits. Perhaps. Yes, Heather, I know that'd be a good thing, wouldn't it? Well, as a matter of fact, we're going to do that because how we know which counties are hiring. That's exactly what we're going to talk about. I'm going to be sending, I've got an email ready to go to directors. They want directors' emails going out on Monday to the listserv. I'm going to be sending a listserv email to the directors, telling them about the candidates. I've already been telling them. They've heard about them several times, but now we're going to have them put in a form that I've created. I'm having Libby create, I honestly, for me, that has like the county, their county website where they would go to make the application, the county special ed director information. If you think it would be helpful, I know some of you do the interviews, some of you don't. If you think it would be helpful for them to have a lead contact information, we can add that column. We can do that, but we're also going to ask them what kind of package they offer, because to be honest with you, the people that are going to be selecting where they go are going to select where they have the best package. And so we're going to be talking about that in just a second, as a matter of fact, about the package, but we're going to be getting that information from directors and hopefully have it by next Friday, because I'd like to share it with the candidates by that coming Monday. I think it's the 15th or 13th, I don't remember. But anyway, that's how they're going to know where the jobs are available. With that, I just wanted you guys to be aware of that, because there's going to be some competition, but there's also a possibility of having not only other grads that we don't know about who might be applying, but these people who have a commitment to work in the school system for a while. And I can guarantee you, one of the things they're going to be looking for in the package is whether or not you offer CFY supervision. Because it's been drilled into them since they've been in the university that that's something they need to do their very first year out. As a matter of fact, I've been having some of them have been contacting me asking whether or not they could go ahead and work like in a clinical facility for 1 year and then do their school commitment because of the CFY supervision. So I've told them that, a lot of counties offer CFY supervision, that, that can be part of your package and an important part of it. And even if you don't have enough staff to provide that supervision, one idea that you could pitch, and I'll definitely mention that to directors as well, is even just contracting with someone to be able to provide that supervision for you. So that you can get that CFY year in. I had talked with Rhea, to be honest, it's been several months ago because things keep coming up, but I've had several directors contact me and say that they don't have enough people to provide supervision. And WVSHA has given us 5 slots to advertise. And we're going to be advertising on the WVSHA website for people who might be interested in providing supervision, either of SLPAs or of CFY candidates. So since we allow virtual supervision, it has to be real time, but since we allow that, hopefully we'll get a group of candidates that we can share with you guys to be able to contact if that's a need that you have within your county. So there'll be more information coming about this, but the immediate thing I wanted you to know is that I'm going to be asking directors, what they have in the packages. So, and I've given them some suggestions as to things to include, and we'll talk about that, like I said, in just a second. But in the meantime, I want you guys to be thinking about it because, they'll probably come to you and say what would be appealing.
And Leanne, Heather has her hand up.
Okay, I'm sorry. I've got my presenter mode on now, but I can't see the hands, I guess. Okay, Heather?
Okay, I just had a comment, kind of a question about the supervision. And the problem that we run into in Kanawha County is that not very many of our SLPs have their Board of Examiners license.
Sure.
So when the new grads apply for their board of examiners,
Provisional licensure.
yes, we
Yeah.
have to have somebody. And I'm wondering if it's a thing where they know they're only going to be working in the school, if they could wait to apply for that one after they finish their ASHA, and get their seats, because that way we would have a lot more available to supervise.
Sure. I'm sure a bunch of counties are running into that. And that was one of the reasons for trying to apply. I mean, trying to place an ad on the WVSHA website. We felt that like people who belonged with, or looked at that website might also have their Board of Examiners licensure. Um, but I think that's a good point. I can mention it to, we're going to have a support group for these students. I just sent them a letter today, all of them a letter today, telling them we're going to set up a support group, like a Teams group where we can have periodic meetings with them and give them information, walk them through the certification process and all that kind of thing with our certification team here through webinars and that. So that's something we can definitely mention to them as we're meeting with them. Now, the universities are very strong, and I understand it, about trying to tell them to get that certification. But anyway, just know that that's something that's a great idea. I'll be sure and mention that to them. So I'm sure that would make it a lot easier for a lot of counties. So, and while you're on here, Heather, let's just go ahead and talk about yours. Heather had asked me if she could post something in our Teams group to kind of get an idea of what types of things are listed and recruitment packages from other counties, because she has a new director, and the new director is interested in trying to create a package, or create things that have things available that are important to people when they look for jobs. And so we thought this was a great time for you guys to discuss it. And either Heather, I think you said you could maybe do an Excel sheet, or I'm going to have Libby do one for me for directors. We could use the same one and just eliminate some of the columns, whichever one you want to do. But I just thought this would be a great time for you guys to, talk about things. One of the things I'm going to mention to directors is, the supervision piece for sure. CFY supervision, provision of equipment like iPads, laptops, possibly paying for ASHA dues, board examiners licensure, possibly paying for those, possibly paying for, professional development opportunities. Like I know some counties, I think Fayette County provides like speechpathology.com. For all their therapists, so they can get their CEUs that way. But, just different things. There are some counties that provide supplements above the teacher pay scale. There are some who pay, like for the ASHA supplement that you can get. And please remember to remind your people about applying for that. That's $2,500 that you can get from the State Department that you can apply for. It's based on seniority and that kind of thing, but I haven't mentioned it recently, and it dawned on me the other day that there might be some people out there who could apply and get that money. And once we get it, we have it. We don't have to, renew after 10 years or whatever, like this nationally certified teachers do. So we just have to, apply for it every year, but you don't have to do training and that kind of thing. Karen, that supplement is the it's for national certification. It's the ASHA supplement, and I can send that. No, it doesn't expire after 10 years. I've had mine over 10 years. And you don't have to do anything to renew. Like national teachers who are nationally certified have to renew. They have to do their projects over. They have to do all that kind of thing. All we have to do is keep applying. So, and I can send out, thank you guys for sharing that information with each other. And I can post that information in our Teams group for you too. Yeah, I will do that. I can send you an email that you can share with your SLPs. That's fine. Hold on one second. I'm back in the office for the first time today. And I've been on calls the majority of the day. I don't even know where my notepad is. Okay. And there are some counties, like I think Kanawha, provides a supplement above that 2,500 if you have your national certification. So, those types of things I think are important for people to know, and important for directors to consider as they, try to develop packages. And there is going to be competition. So I think this might be the time to make it have an impact on your directors, but, by saying, if we want to compete with all the other counties to get these positions filled, we need to do something different. And like I said, I'll be talking with them about that too. But in the meantime, I just wanted to give you guys some time here quickly to think about other things that you think might need to be included. Like I said, you can just unmute and talk about it. Heather, were there other questions you had to ask of them that you wanted
this
to?
is Heather.
Yeah, great.
I had emailed a few people. It wasn't all of wasn't all of the leads. It was because I didn't know if I was allowed to use your email list, and I didn't want to put anything out there I shouldn't. So I had emailed just the people who were on that leads list in our files.
Okay.
And I got a response from a lot of them, and some of the other things were just extra money for all SLPs, whether they had their ASHA Cs or not. A couple of them were got their ASHA dues paid.
Okay.
And then it looks like, I don't know if the Mineral County person is on here, but their county matches the 2,500 from the Department of Education, plus another 4,000 for SLPs and 2,000 for SLPAs, and also does tuition reimbursement for SLPs in grad school. Oh, she's here. She knows what they do.
Yeah.
So just, I thought, as we started talking about making that chart, everyone have some ideas about different categories you wanna add, not just things that I was thinking of.
Sure. That sounds great. Julie, you're on there. Did you want to say anything else? I mean, Leslie. I don't know why I keep calling you Julie. Leslie.
No, I don't have anything else to say. I just thought that we were in an awful place in Mineral County. And then when I start hearing all of these things, I realize that they have really gone out to try to retain and keep employees once we get them.
They have, and I will tell you, because this is the only candidate I know about. One of the 10 graduating lives in Mineral County and is interested in Mineral County. As a matter of fact, I've already told your director about her. She's already made an application.
She's actually was interviewed today.
Good. So, I think that's one of the things that'll get you there, though, is, a package like that. I told them the same thing for this SLPA program, to create a package, and they're going to have to be the 13 county, and there aren't 13 now. I think they're like 11 counties now, maybe 10 that are involved. I told them to get a package ready, because that's where how they're going to decide if they were on multiple county lists. That's how those candidates are going to decide where they want to go, is who gives them the best package. So hopefully talking about packages now will make a difference for everybody. I saw Sarah Martin also put on their optical and dental, or dental and vision. Yeah, optical and dental. Those are things they don't have right now. Health insurance, all those things are things they don't have right now. So, just anything else you guys can think of. We're just going to send the directors a simple, hopefully pretty simple yes, no form to fill out so we can develop a spreadsheet. But if you guys have flyers and everything like that too, that you have for your counties that you want us to be able to share with those students, please send them to me and I'll post them in that Teams group. Because, that could be a way for you guys to reach out to them as well. And if there's any time that you guys want to, be on the Teams group when we're, talking with them, you're welcome to do that too. Yep, some counties do pay for ASHA dues. Yep, Kim, they do. Some do, and some do pay for their Board of Examiners licensure because they want them to be able to build Medicaid. That's one of the reasons for doing it. And a lot of it depends on the size of the county. There's a lot of difference what a county as large as Kanawha can offer, as opposed to somebody who has a small county who has three therapists for the county. But Kanawha does offer a lot of things, even though they have a lot of therapists. They have iPads, they have Mac computers, they have the additional matching supplement for the national certification and those kinds of things. There are other counties that, have bonuses or, supplements above the pay scale. So that's just something, it's not a WVDE decision. Each county can determine their pay scales, all those kinds of things, because it's local control. We don't have any control over any of that. Okay, so Karen, let me see if I can see the chat box here just a second. WVSHA dues. Let me go back here a little bit. Some of these WVSHA dues. WVSHA dues, I don't know if anybody who does that, you guys can put it in the, the chat box if your county does. I think what we'll do is Libby, let's see. Since I'm just trying to figure out the best way to get this form so you guys can share your information, because I think you guys need to see this too, and then I can share with you guys what the only problem with my list is going to be, I'm only going to have information from counties that have vacancies. So, if you don't have any vacancies, your county information is not going to be listed there. So I think it's good for us to have a different list for our leads group for you guys to see what's open. And I see you guys are talking to each other here, so I'm just going to have you guys read these messages because they're coming in pretty fast. And you guys feel free to unmute. You can mute. You don't have to type everything in. So, and just remember this chat's available after the meeting as well. But I think there was one message about unions and have lobbyists.
That was regarding WVSHA, I believe.
Okay, well, and like I said, that's your county decision. Whatever they determine, we can't mandate that they do or don't do anything as far as paying dues or anything like that. That's all up to the county themselves. So
Stephanie had a comment about the Board of Examiners. They were told by somebody in finance at WVDE that it isn't solely used at the schools, but it can be used for secondary jobs, and so that they can't pay for that. Because
I'm not sure who told them that in our finance office, but see, they have state funds that they could use for that as well. So it could be federal funds may not be used for it, or IDEA funds. I'm not sure, but I know that people used to call here and because of Medicaid, talk to Terry about it, and as they've checked on it, I never heard what the results were. Because like I said, we can't have really a say in it other than, even if they don't pay for like WVSHA dues, they might pay for you to go to the conference, that kind of thing. So there are all different types of things that they can offer. As far as the Board of Examiners, if they are going to use it for your job, you don't have to have a Board of Examiners licensure to work in the school. That is very true. You don't have to have that. But if you're going to bill Medicaid with it, it could be that you couldn't use federal funds because Medicaid is federal funds too. That's an issue, that's a finance issue that I don't know anything about. So that may be the difference. So
Karen Underwood said that they, in their county, use like a supplemental pay that they give like a blanket supplemental pay that people can use to pay their own dues. And Jennifer said the same thing.
Okay, so that's a great idea too. Okay, yeah, that sounds good. Back to the 25. Okay, let's see. Back to the $2,500 supplement. Our county only does $1,250 for SLPs, but does the The 250, the 2,500 is what the WVDE provides. That comes from us. It doesn't come from your county. So if they provide 1,250 above that, that's a supplement. And Rhea has posted a message. Rhea, you want to just go ahead and unmute and talk about it? Conference. I have a slide for it, but we haven't gotten there yet.
Oh, okay. Yeah, since we were talking about WVSHA dues, I just thought, okay, this might be the moment. For those of you who weren't aware yet, I know a lot of counties have gotten the word out, but we decided to move the WVSHA convention to an all virtual format. So it's going to be the first time it's ever been offered this way. It's going to be 39 hours of available CEUs in an on-demand format, and sessions will be available for basically the last 2 weeks of March. It's like March 22nd to April 2nd. So it bumps right up against, like, Easter weekend. You can get as many or as few CEUs as you want. Schedule and information is all posted on the WVSHA website, and the registration was also discounted this year due to being in the all virtual format, and we didn't have any on-site expenses. Our publications VP, Ernay Adams from Marshall, has been posting lots of stuff on our Facebook page, highlighting speakers and sessions and things. So if you haven't gone to our Facebook page and you use Facebook, you can see a lot of detailed info about sessions and speakers and such. And I do not believe, Leslie, there is a deadline for registration.
Thank you, Rhea. That's great. I'm glad you were able to tell them all about it. That sounds good. I'm going to go ahead and keep moving through here just because we still have a video to watch. It's only 18 minutes, but I want to make sure we get it in because I want to try something new with these meetings to see what you think. In the meantime, I'm going to go through the rest of these slides pretty quickly, and I'll go ahead and post these slides for you because they do have some links in here that you might be interested in using. When we did our webinar, ethics webinar in the fall, we had said we would do another one in the spring. So we have one planned for April 15th from 8 to 9, and we'll be using questions. We got like 10 questions in last time for the ethics webinar that we did. So we're going to be using, some of the other questions that we didn't get to this time, and CUs will be provided. There is an ethics, WVSHA usually does a 2-hour ethics webinar, so you may not need it this time. That's absolutely fine if you don't. We understand. It's just we had promised we would do it, and, we wanted to go ahead and fulfill that promise. But we'll probably keep doing these 1-hour sessions periodically because there are, we seem to have good attendance for that one, and there's, has been some discussion about topics after that I think make it important. Yeah, okay, good. There are 2 hours included in WVSHA Virtual. That's great. Okay. So, like I said, it's not going to hurt our feelings, at all if you don't attend this one and you attend WVSHA. That's the reason we set ours for April, so there's no competition. We just thought anybody who wasn't able to attend WVSHA might need to do ours for your certification if your year is this year for your 3-year certification. So anyway, move on from there. We did get responses from our professional development survey we sent out, and so we're going to be having a professional development committee meeting, a virtual one. We had one several years ago, and it was a big success. So we'll be inviting all 3 universities, 10 to 12 area therapists or lead therapists. We haven't selected those yet. You'll be getting an invitation, and then I'll contact your director. Private practice representative, so it means we'll be inviting Vicki Pullins for that, and WVSHA representative, and we'll have Rhea with us as that representative. So we'll discuss the results of professional development survey, and we're also going to be discussing options for professional development and plans for federal grants. We have been looking into federal grants and are trying to get some so that we can pay tuition. We like to pay tuition for students who want to go through the graduate programs to work in the schools. We'd also like to, help support the universities in training, things that they're going to be doing, like, with this online program, and Marshall with their SLPA certification program, and West Liberty has their new clinic and that kind of thing. And we want to be able to talk with them and get input from them about how we could use this money, because most of the grants we've been looking for have been around $2.5 million. Certainly doesn't mean we won't get them, but it's definitely something we want to explore. So let's see. Celebrating Connections is coming up, and Libby and I are actually doing, it's all virtual this year too, and we're doing a session this year, so be sure and check that out. We are going to be having a webinar, and Libby, I forgot to get the date from you when we talked this morning for that webinar. We'll post it in our Teams group. This is a joint project with Marianne Clendenin and I, and we are going to provide ASHA CEUs for live participation. It'll be recorded and posted, and we have Karen Haynes, Gail Nelden, and Nora Ward are working on a guidance document for us, and they'll be going through the guidance document during that training. Now we are going to watch. What I'd like to do is, I know that everybody's heard about the McLeod, Crow-McLeod developmental norms that have come out, and there have been questions about our developmental norms, policy 2419, and all those kinds of things. And I found this webinar that's posted on the Virginia Department of Education, and the reason I found it is because Marie Ireland is the Vice President of School Affairs for ASHA, and she's also been a very valuable mentor to me as I've taken on this duty of being state coordinator. And she has written a couple of articles with Crow and McLeod. And this one is about taking the research that they did and implementing it in this, with relation to IDEA. So what I'd like to do is just watch this webinar. It's 19 minutes, and then I've created a folder in your Teams group. It's called Speech Sound Disorders, and it has a lot of the information that she has mentioned, and it also has all the links. There's a page, it's a Word document, it has all the links that she'll mention in this video. So what I'm going to do now is stop sharing my screen and get this video hopefully up. There it is. Can you guys see this YouTube screen?
We can.
Okay, then I'm going to go ahead and start this video. We were practicing with it a while ago, so I'm going to start at the beginning. Whoops.
We're not hearing the sound.
Oh, I know why. Sorry. Sorry. Let me stop sharing.
Acquisition.
Is that better?
Yeah, a little louder, please.
In the United States, with a combined total of over 18,000 children. This new research does not separate boys and girls in the development of norms, and shows that most sounds are acquired by age 6. I want to let you know that another article will be coming out this fall. It's called Evaluating Children in U.S. Public Schools with Speech Sound Disorders, Considering Federal and State Laws, Guidance, and Research. This article will examine the use of the new Crow and McLeod norms in conjunction with IDEA and state requirements. It reminds us all that tests are not the sole indicator of a speech sound disorder under IDEA. As we get started, I want to remind you that we are going to cover 4 important topics in this video: educational versus medical identification, civil rights, Virginia regulations and guidance, and research-based tools. It's important that we remind ourselves about the differences between educational and medical identification. A clinical impairment or diagnosis is not sufficient for identification under IDEA. Clinical services are available for a fee. Schools do not fill prescriptions for services. Schools provide free services to children who are eligible and meet the criteria of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. Civil rights is another important consideration for school-based speech-language pathologists and all members of the IEP team. Identifying a child as disabled who does not meet the federal definition of special education could result in negative educational consequences. It's also a violation of the child's civil rights. Sometimes, if a teacher thinks that a child has an IEP, they might believe that they're less capable, give them less opportunities, or even less rigorous practice. It's important to address over-identification, and IDEA now requires states to submit data on every new eligibility in 5 disability categories. Speech-language impairment is one of those 5 categories. Again, it's important to remind parents, teachers, and others that this decision could potentially negatively impact a child's education. There must be documentation to find a child eligible under IDEA, and without it, you are violating a child's civil rights. Under IDEA, there are very strict rules for eligibility. You must document that the student has an impairment, that the impairment results in an educational impact, and that the child requires specially designed instruction to make progress. As school SLPs, you must work as part of an interdisciplinary team that uses a variety of assessment tools and strategies to gather developmental, functional, and academic information. This wording comes right out of the federal regulations for IDEA. Let's take a look at the eligibility requirements in Virginia. Virginia regulations include all of the federal requirements of IDEA. You must have documentation of an impairment. You must document that that is not the result of a sociocultural dialect or limited English proficiency. There has to be data to document the educational impact that the speech-language impairment is having on the student. There has to be documentation of the need for specially designed instruction. For speech sound disorders, this is stimulability. You also have to have an observation in the educational environment and a hearing screening if it is the child's initial eligibility for special education. Some other reminders from our federal law. We are prohibited from using any single measure or assessment as the sole criterion for determining whether or not a child has a disability. This means that using normative data alone is inappropriate. Evaluations for speech sound disorders under IDEA should document the speech sound disorder using the current normative data, but you also must have documentation of the educational impact and the need for specially designed instruction. As we think about making evidence-based eligibility decisions that comply with the federal and state regulations, it's important that you, as a school-based SLP, have awareness of what those federal regulations are, that you know the Virginia regulations, and that you're aware of Virginia guidance and resources that are available to help you. There's also evidence in our professional literature, like the 2 articles that I mentioned earlier. Virginia regulations have specific criteria And we have guidance that will help you stay in compliance. Let's take a look at how to document an impairment. You can use a standardized test like the Golden Fristo. You can also use a sound inventory if you have a list of words or picture cards that allow the student to produce sounds in initial, medial, and final positions. Another way to document impairment is to do the percent consonants correct. We're going to talk more about that in a few moments. Here's a picture of our speech production assessment summary. This form is available in the Virginia Department of Education's Guidance for SLPs. It helps you organize information from the academic setting and including tests and measurements, and SLP probe data and tests and measurements. You will see that the speech sound inventory documenting the number of sounds that do not meet normative data and PCC data are represented on this form. Now let's think about how to document educational impact. It's important to remember that educational impact could be either academic or behavioral social emotional. Let's look at the ways that we can document academic impact for reading and spelling, or behavioral social emotional impact, whether it's intelligibility or social emotional issues. That data is going to come from our classroom environment. It might be a writing sample to show how sound errors show up in spelling. It could be teacher data to show reading comprehension issues from mispronunciation of words. It might be intelligibility data from teachers and peers. Of course, you can also document student and teacher interviews that help reveal social emotional concerns, lack of participation, or feelings about speech and language communication skills. Of course, SLPs can also document data from the classroom using their observational data. As we think about measuring intelligibility, one research-based method is to use the Intelligibility in Context Scale, or ICS. It's a free parent report tool that's available in over 60 languages. It can help you quickly and easily document children's intelligibility with different partners. Again, this is a research-based method to document intelligibility that allows others to provide the data to you. Now let's take a look at the need for specially designed instruction. How would you document that at your eligibility meeting? Well, you want to be sure you examine data to determine if the child needs specially designed instruction to correct a speech sound disorder. Usually we think of this as stimulability or modifiability. Let's review some data sources to help you document the need for specially designed instruction. The first one I mentioned earlier, PCC, or percent consonants correct. The imitative measure that is faster and more efficient was first described by Johnson, Weston, and Bain in 2004. The Virginia Department of Education has a new PCC imitative measure form to help you with this task. Another way to document the need for specially designed instruction is to look at stimulability. Sometimes this is included as part of a standardized articulation test. The Virginia Department of Education also has a new form for the Missio probe that was first introduced in the literature in 2002. You can also use dynamic assessment to collect information on children's stimulability or modifiability. If children are stimulable and can imitate sounds correctly, then they may not need specially designed instruction from a speech-language pathologist, but just more practice and good reminders from their classroom teachers and parents. Let's take a look at what some of these research-based tools look like. I'm going to show you screenshots of the PCC imitative task, the Missio probe, and a parent-teacher information sheet to help you communicate with others. This is a picture of the percent consonants correct imitative sentence scoring form. We have permission from the American Speech Language Hearing Association to publish the directions and sentences. Speech language pathologists can score a child's imitative sentences right on this form and come up with a PCC score to use in the articulation summary. Here's a picture of our children's articulation and speech sound development information sheet. You'll see at the top it describes the sounds that we typically acquire between ages 2 and 311, the middle developing sounds between 4 and 411, and later developing sounds from 5 to 711. There's also some helpful information from our speech language pathologist guide to remind us that all children develop at different rates. There is a standard deviation in the Crow and McLeod normative data from 6 to 18 months. The bottom of this sheet also reminds parents, teachers, and others about the SLI eligibility criteria in the state of Virginia. It's important to share this information when someone has a concern about speech language development. Here's a picture of the updated Missio stimulability probe. This can help you document when a child is stimulable. When a child is stimulable for at least 30% of opportunities, they are presumed to be stimulable and not in need of services. The Missio stimulability probe is an important part of eligibility decision-making in the state of Virginia. Some individuals may ask you what to do when a child is not eligible. It's important to be able to remind parents, teachers, and others that clinical services outside of the school setting are always an option. Some SLPs may be able to offer services in general education under the MTSS or RTI model if a child is stimulable or does not demonstrate an educational impact. Some SLPs may offer pre-referral intervention. These are called things like speech busters and sound breakers. Generally, there's a focus on home practice for families or some before and after school practice programs. It's usually time limited, and if there's ever a suspicion of a disability, you would want to talk to your special ed administrator and make a referral for evaluation. You need to check with your local school district for guidance on your ability to offer services using pre-referral intervention or general education services when students are not eligible but still have a speech sound error. It's important that we also think about the clinical implications for school SLPs. School SLPs are required by law to consider multiple sources of data. They have to document all three prongs of the definition of special education: impairment, educational impact, and need for specially designed instruction. It's important to not prioritize one source of data over another. Strict adherence to these federal and state requirements can also help us with caseload challenges. Finding children eligible for services who do not meet criteria is over-identification. Professionals outside of the school setting also need to be aware of these differences, as they may indicate that a child has a speech and language impairment, but that is not the same thing as meeting the criteria under IDEA. The American Speech Language Hearing Association admission and discharge criteria. This is another important point to consider as you're sharing information with private practitioners, parents, teachers, or others. There are some factors in ASHA's admission and discharge criteria that align well with IDEA. On the left side of your screen, you will see reminders that when children are unable to communicate functionally or optimally across environments and with communication partners. Also appropriate to serve children in schools when there's a communication skill that negatively affects educational, social, emotional, or vocational performance. There are some ASHA admission and discharge criteria that are not appropriate to use in the schools. That includes failure to pass a screening assessment for communication, because that relies on a single source of data. The other factor that would be inappropriate from this document is that the individual, family, or guardian seeks services to enhance communication skills. Enhancing skills is certainly a goal of most families, but it isn't sufficient to call a child disabled under IDEA. There must be an educational impact and a need for specially designed instruction to be provided by a speech-language pathologist. Seeking just to do better or improve performance is not enough. As a reminder, eligibility under IDEA means that we must have documentation that the student has an impairment, that impairment results in an educational impact, and that the child requires specially designed instruction to make progress. Remember, the federal regulations require school-based SLPs to work as part of an interdisciplinary team to gather data from a variety of sources. As you move throughout the school year, evaluating students and meeting with families, I hope that these considerations will remain in the forefront. The difference between educational identification and a medical or clinical diagnosis. The fact that civil rights issues occur when there is not documentation for all of the criteria questions. And of course, the idea that over-identification and federal monitoring is ongoing for every new speech-language impairment eligibility. It's important to ensure that you have sufficient data to document each and every question. There are so many free resources available to help school SLPs. There are lots of additional speech sound disorder resources, including articles and podcasts. It's important to understand the evidence behind the work that we do. Hopefully, these references will help you build your skills in the area of speech sound disorder evaluation and eligibility decision making.
Okay, I know we're getting close to 2 o'clock, and we might run over like 5 minutes today. I'm sorry for that. If you need to get off at 2, feel free. We'll continue to record. I forgot to mention before we started watching the video that, the Virginia requirements are the same as ours. So, although we do include vocational as a part of the impact that can be demonstrated by speech sound disorder. In your folder, I put the MECIO probe, the other documents that she showed that were available. We're going to try to create some of those things with West Virginia on it. Anything that's on the State Department website is free for anyone to use. So we have permission from Marie to share this information and to take it and make it our own, and we'll be doing that. So I wanted to, be sure and show you that because number one, I wanted you to hear from someone besides me talk about, speech sound disorders and the law and what we have to follow. It's always nice to hear it from someone else. And, I definitely consider Marie an expert. That's for sure. But also, I thought it was really good because of all the information and all the links that she shared and all the forms and those kinds of things. So if you find things that you think would be helpful as far as speech sound disorders for your, colleagues, please go ahead and put that in that speech sound disorder folder. The articles that you wrote with ASHA right now are free, but there's going to be a cost for them soon. So I downloaded both of them. So you'll have free access to them that you can share with your SLPs. And I wanted to go ahead and try to get some feedback from you guys. That's the reason I turned my camera on. You guys can turn your camera on and mic on and talk. I just want to get some feedback about what you thought about the norms and how they apply to the school system.
Leanne, do you anticipate that the charts that we have in 2419, the Arctic and the phonological charts, that those will change when that is updated?
They very well might. The only thing that, I think we have to remember is how you apply it, to the schools. And it has to have that educational impact. If we didn't do that, then everybody 4 and up could qualify for therapy. So I think that's, definitely something important to remember. But yeah, we'll definitely look at that when we update policy 2419. The other thing to remember is some of your counties, I think there are just 1 or 2, are having to pay back 15% of your county budget because you had a disproportionate number of students identified with a speech language impairment. And they look at that. That's one of the federal, this diagnosis is one of the diagnoses, the eligibility categories that the federal government looks at. And if we have too many students identified within a county with a speech language impairment of a certain race, then your county can be responsible for paying back 15% of your budget to address that issue. And that is not a pleasant conversation to have because directors are having to think about, where do they get that 15% from their current budget? And it could be a lot of money. So, every time you place a student with a speech sound disorder, I want you to really make sure that they meet that eligibility criteria. The other thing is that if you, I think you found out this year with the students that you have, it's been hard to get some of them to do their online teletherapy sessions, all those kinds of things. And even though it might be a mild Arctic error, they still have the same rights as anybody else who has an IEP. So they're eligible for, recovery services, compensatory services if no service was provided. So definitely be sure. I mean, one of the reasons that Virginia is so aware of it is because once you place a student with an IEP, you can't dismiss them unless the parent agrees. So, you can have some kids in for life. So you need to make sure that those, they need to make sure that those eligibility criteria is met. With us, we do have the ability to do that, but some parents don't want their students dismissed either. And I wanted you to hear, that you can use MTSS, which is our steps. They call their speech busters and sound breakers, but ours is steps. You can use those programs, and we should be using those programs. And if you need us to do a training in your county, we'd be happy to do that. We've already got some webinars ready. We can share those links with you. I think they're in the STEPS folder, as a matter of fact, in your Teams group. Libby made webinars for us about the STEPS program that you can share with your county. Be sure you're using those programs as well, that program. But look through. I know it's a lot, to throw at you at one time, but I just wanted to try this as a training method too, because there are other like podcasts and different things that we could share. And I know you don't have much time, but you do have this time dedicated for this meeting. So, on your certificate feedback that Libby just posted the link to, excuse me, be sure and put on there whether you like doing that type of thing during our meeting here. We had a lot of topics today, so I know we don't have much time for discussion, and we can maybe discuss next time, or you guys can post questions in our Teams group at any time. Just remember that. And Stephanie Richards, I did see that you posted a message about an AAC book, and actually I have some free downloads. I just need to go through my file of AAC equipment, AAC materials, but I think one of the device companies had some books that you could download talking about students with their devices. So I'll be sure and post that hopefully sometime this weekend. So anyway, are there any questions? Are there any ways we can help you guys? Tell us what you need and give us some feedback here from all the information you heard today.
Leanne, I have a question about OT on speech IEPs.
Mm.
Do the OTs in the OT section have to provide the link to communication, or is the speech PLEP supposed to provide a link to handwriting? And
Right.
my other question would be, what do we do when it's an articulation student?
Right. Well,
I
you know,
really felt like the OT services were being provided as a part of perhaps a disability or a diagnosis, like as a part of the 504 program, not previously 504, but not
right.
necessarily related to the speech disability. So I
It's
just
just
wasn't sure how it would fit.
Sure. It's just the fact that you're not, the recommendation from OSCP, the Office of Special Ed Programs, and from us is that you don't have both. You don't have a 504 and an IEP. So I remember we discussed that, and I'm sorry I did not talk to my director about that yet, but I will get clarification for you since I'm right here now. It's easier to get a hold of her because she's in meetings a lot of the day. But, to me, if it's a speech sound disorder, if they have any type of fine motor involvement, that kind of thing, which the OT would be, there's potential that could be related. But let me double check that to be sure.
Well, I'm
With
just wondering, like if they had ADHD or we have a kid that has some other diagnosis, we would just we would put it under the general, or we might put it under a
Right,
part A. Can they
right.
receive OT as a part A as opposed to a related services?
No, it shouldn't be like a supplementary service. No.
Okay.
It shouldn't be that. What you would put there is like if they needed, specialized equipment, that kind of thing for the classroom. But yeah, it makes sense that we go under the OT piece, but having an overall general PLEP might be the best case too. So I'll double check on that and post it in the group so everybody can hear it.
Okay, that would be
Okay.
great.
Thanks so much. Okay, any other questions? Anybody else have something to say? Please correct me if I'm wrong. Can you receive OT or PT with speech only? I didn't think you could. Tondra, that is a question that comes up a lot of times within counties, and county special ed directors can make that final decision. If you think about IDEA says that related services should be, support of the main special education service. So, it depends on how they look at how OT and PT could support speech. That my feeling is sometimes that I'd rather, the student get the service if at all possible. But let me mention too, that as we've been checking since I've inherited OT and PT as a section to coordinate, as we've looked through guidance documents from other states, OT and PT services are behind. In OT and PT services in West Virginia are behind other states too. In other states, they do offer MTSS support and those kinds of things. So that's going to be a process to get that offered here. It's taken us a while to work with you guys about the educational relevance piece, and that's going to be a process. So if your special ed director has said that they can't receive OT and PT, then that's what you need to go with. It's just Berkeley had asked about the possibility of doing that, and if there's any type of motoric involvement at all, you can see the issue if there's a language case and they have written language, written language issues. You could see that might be a correlation how they could help support that. So it's a debate that we've had since I've been here in this office, and that's the reason I want to get clarification from my director on it. So go with what your director says for right now. Anybody else? Oh, you're welcome. Okay, you guys. Well, I don't have my last slide up, and I'm not going to hold you just to pull it up. I'll just tell you that, how much I appreciate everything you guys do. Libby does too. I'll speak for her. We appreciate your support and all the things you do to help your SLPs and to help the students that you work with. So just know when you leave today that you're appreciated today and every day. And if you need to print it out, sometimes I print things like that out so that I can look at it when I need some encouragement. So, you know, just know it's going to be the last slide. You can print that out, and I even have our names underneath it so you can remember how much we appreciate you guys. So take care. Have a great long weekend. I mean, a great weekend, not a long weekend. Have a great weekend, and I will see you guys next month. Thanks, Heather. We appreciate you guys. You guys are the ones who are doing the hard stuff. So thank you so much. You guys take care. Let's see. Let me see. Let me stop this recording. Thank you guys for the sweet comments. We appreciate it.